Welcome to another episode of the Victory Podcast, driven by Audi. I'm your host, Keely Eure, joined by my co-host and former USC quarterback, Cody Kessler. Cody, we are finally back in the studio. Excited to be back recording. It's been a while for us.
It's been over a month.
That's crazy. Has it? Yes, it has.
Since we've done, it's even since we played a game, right?
That's true.
Yeah, so it's been a while.
USC went on a hiatus. We did too. It wasn't planned, but that's what happened.
Yeah, well, just overall, we Thanksgiving came around, and then obviously we got to see friends and family for the holidays and stuff, and a lot of scheduling conflicts. I'll take a lot of that blame. It was tough. We tried to do an episode with me, you, and D'Anton, which fell through. It was tough, but we're back now. We're going to have, I know we've said it, so they're probably rolling their eyes, but a more consistent schedule going forward.
Yes.
We've got this episode, then we get to preview the Holiday Bowl coming up. But it's good to be back. I felt like we haven't been in this room in forever.
I know.
As well. So
a little surreal, yeah.
I'm excited, and hopefully everybody had a good Thanksgiving. And I know they got a little time away from USC football, but we got one more game coming up, and a lot of news to talk about since we've been gone as well.
I know. Has anything transpired since we've been
anything
gone?
happened?
It's
Not
been
too
a quiet
big.
4 weeks
Yeah.
now. So we have a lot to talk about, and you kind of previewed it a little bit, Cody, but we have a lot coming up content-wise. So this episode is going to be mostly about what we missed in the last couple of weeks. It's going to be talking about the new defensive staff that USC's added so far, and kind of just a roster update. There's been a lot of moves on USC's roster, so we'll talk about that. Upcoming, we have a Holiday Bowl preview. That's going to be kind of a short and sweet episode. We wanted it to be a take it or leave it type of thing. With bowl games, Cody, if it's not in the New Year's 6, I don't know if some people really want a full preview or not. We will have that for you. So if you're driving down to San Diego or something, you can pop that on and listen to us there. But it will be kind of a condensed episode. And then after that, we'll have a recap episode after the bowl game with D'Anton. So we'll get back to that schedule as well. And then, not to be forgotten, signing day also happened. The early signing period has gone on. I think it's still going on. We're recording this on a Friday, so it's technically still the early signing period. But Cody, you and I will have a full breakdown of the class. USC hasn't announced. They announced one transfer today, but they haven't actually signed or announced the transfer portal guys yet, so we wouldn't even be able to talk about them yet. So hopefully when we get to that episode, Cody, they will have announced everyone that they picked up. And I love the breakdowns that you do, Cody, so we'll get a full episode of that as well.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for that. And I know that's current news right now, and everyone's probably excited, rightfully so. A lot of big name players at the high school level that committed to USC and signed now. But we've got one more game to go, like I said, so let's focus on that now. And then as soon as the Holiday Bowl's over, you and D'Anton, like you said, we'll do that episode, and I can't wait for that. I love watching the tape. I love watching prospects tape too. Like watching NFL tape's awesome, college players doing those breakdowns, but I love watching the high school tape and then seeing what guys said about them, some comparisons, and then coming up with my own, and then listening to what Lincoln's talked about. And it's just so much fun to be able to do that, and that's somewhere I was at before, right? And I had all these weird comparisons when I was in high school. I don't remember who.
Interesting.
I remember some sites were saying, oh, this guy, like Andy Dalton's one I got a couple times. And then other comparisons like that. And then you get to college and it's like, okay, I just went completely different direction.
We need to do a little segment of that in that episode.
Yeah, I actually looked it up the other day too with signing day. I was like, I don't even remember stars or where I was ranked and all that on all the rivals the 24/7, all that stuff. So I went back. It was kind of funny. The funniest part about that, and I'm kind of throwing myself under the bus. So the pictures they used for some of those, don't go back and look at those.
We will go back and look at those, 100%.
But overall, I'm excited for that episode. So a lot of good stuff coming up. But first and foremost, we've got to talk about all the current events. And people have been coming at us a little bit on Twitter.
Really? Yes, I know.
Just, hey, what's your thoughts? Where's the episode? No tweeting, none of that.
I know.
I promise it wasn't planned.
There was a section where I was like, we are cursed. We either didn't have a producer. We don't have a producer right now. We are doing it. We're flying solo. There's no one here. So
it's just Keely and I down
we're
here.
trying to get this thing off the ground.
And you just had a full day of practice, doing other film, doing all that other stuff.
So we're trying to get this off the ground. But yeah, there's a section where I was like, we're cursed. We can't get anything going. Someone would drop out. This would happen. A family thing would happen. So, but we're back. I know we say it a lot, but we are back. And as I just previewed, we have a lot of content coming up. So stay tuned for that. But like we mentioned, we got to talk about USC's defensive staff moves and roster moves as well. A lot of stuff to talk about for sure. So excited to get into this one with you, Cody. Before we do, just a couple reminders. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to go above and beyond, you can leave a review on your podcasting app. And if you ever want to get your voice heard, be sure to look out for a tweet or a question box on either Twitter or Instagram. Our socials are Victory Pod USC on both apps. Without further ado, Cody, it's time to really jump into it.
Yeah.
So on December 1st, USC announced that its new defensive coordinator is D'Anton Lynn. Head coach Lincoln Riley said, quote, "We simply couldn't ask for a better addition to our staff. His successful experiences in both college and the NFL make him the perfect fit for our program." It's wild, Cody. I wasn't expecting it to happen as quickly as it did, but that's my gripe with the early signing period is you don't have February to kind of make your decisions. You got to get someone in there quick and get on the road recruiting. So it makes sense. But it was funny to me because I know Max Brown, and I know you said it on our episode, he was someone who was kind of on the list of, do you poach him from UCLA? And USC ultimately did. They went across town and said, hey, we're taking this bright new star in college football and taking it for ourselves. So it was a crazy move. And I was just curious your thoughts, Cody, because, well, one, I knew your thoughts slightly just because that UCLA preview episode had come out just a couple weeks prior. I went on social media, I just clipped it out and pushed it out. I was like, here's our thoughts, because we already kind of talked about
and
him.
We were hyping him up that episode.
Yeah,
and rightfully so. But I love what you said, first of all, is important. It forces your hand. You have to make that hire quick, because not only with the transfer portal guys, but as a high school recruit, you get so close to that signing period, and you see a lot of guys that flip at the very last second. It's tough to be a defensive player, get committed to USC, and not knowing now who am I committing to, right?
Sure.
I know I'm committing to Lincoln Riley, so when the head coach is still there, that's a great sign, right? You don't have to worry about an entirely new staff, a new head coach, all of that. But when you're a defensive player specifically and you don't know who your defensive coordinator is going to be, it's tough to feel confident in your commitment and signing that letter of intent and being fully in when you don't know who it is. So they had to hire quick. Twitter was driving me nuts. I will say that, though, because, well, just everyone's like, who's it going to be? This is who it is. This is who it's going to be. My sources say that, and I complained to you about that.
You called me, like, exasperated. You're like, I can't believe Twitter right now.
Well, what's the point of knowing if you know one day earlier because your sources told you, and everyone's freaking out. And that's the fun part about it. Don't get me wrong. I'm in that field now. I understand that you want to be.
You just, flip-flop so fast.
Well, you want to be like, I got to be the first person to report. But at the end of the day, it's the middle of December at this point, or early December, or end of November.
Yeah.
If you know November 29th compared to November 30th, like just wait for the announcement and the excitement and all that. But I was right there with it. I was following along. Who's it going to be? Everyone's waiting pins and needles. Who the next defensive coordinator is going to be? And like you mentioned, I said my top two were Jim Leonhard and D'Anton Lynn, and I thought, what a great opportunity for someone who's so close. And I know Lincoln Riley, I guarantee you, I don't know what he said, but I guarantee you used this in his pitch to him is, you don't have to move. You don't have to go too far. We're also going into the Big Ten. Everything that you've been preparing for, we're doing here. But now you get to wear this beautiful cardinal and gold. And you don't have to wear the ugly, the blue and the gold over there anymore. But no, overall, it's great. It's a great hire. And we talked about it on the episode. And I'll give you just a little bit more of a background on Lynn in case you didn't watch that UCLA episode. First season defensive coordinator at UCLA, tremendous. The numbers, the stats, they did a great job there. Has only been coaching since 2014, which is crazy for me how fast he's gone up the ranks. And I'm going to get a little more in detail about his coaching history, which will kind of back that up, how crazy it is, how fast he kind of shot into stardom. Only 34 years old, but his full coaching history, 2014, was a seasonal intern with the Jets, right? Then you go to 2015,
seasonal intern, that's insane.
Yeah, that's what his title was. 2015, 2016, he goes to the Buffalo Bills. Defensive assistant, still not a position coach. 2017 with the Chargers, defensive assistant, still not a position coach. 2018, 2019 with the Texans, now we get a little bit closer. Assistant secondary coach, so still not a full-time position coach. Then you go 2020, which is a COVID year, with the Texans still, now he gets his first position job as the secondary coach. Then 2021 to 2022, goes over with Coach Harbaugh and the Ravens, gets another position job as a safeties coach. And then, by the way, so that's 3 years, only 2 teams of an actual position coach. And then Chip Kelly calls him and says, hey, come be a defensive coordinator. You haven't been in the college level yet, but come be a defensive coordinator. That's because, or that just shows how excited these coaches are about him, how much Chip Kelly really wanted him, and Coach Harbaugh talking about him so highly. And I remember listening to Coach Kelly talking about Coach Lynn when he got hired, saying, hey, the biggest reason that I got him here is because of how many recommendations and how highly he was praised and talked about from former coaches, and a Super Bowl winning coach and Coach Harbaugh speaking so highly of him. Yeah. Chip Kelly thought this is a no-brainer. And was he? I mean, he was right? Then you look at the stats for UCLA, through the roof. UCLA struggled defensively for the past couple of years. He turns around in 1 year, and now we go out there and get him. So I'm very excited. An amazing hire. I know that was a lot of stats, a lot of numbers there, but you just have to talk about how fast he went through the ranks and how quickly and how a hot commodity, like you said, Coach Riley, to go over there and get him. It's exciting now that we get to have him as USC's defensive coordinator.
Yeah, now I have so many thoughts off of that, but something that you mentioned in the preview episode, he comes from a coaching bloodline.
Yeah.
But the fact that he was a seasonal intern, like, I would have been like, Dad, let's pull some strings here.
Right?
He paid his dues. Like, that seems pretty impressive in that sense.
And he's still only 34 years old. And I love that so much. And I said that because he's the type of player that as soon as he got done, he went straight into coaching. And when you're that, and I say 34 is young in the coaching world, right? It really is. Maybe not
in the general world, yes.
It is. But in we got to think football terms here, right? As a player, 34, you're old, right? Your playing days are behind you. You're still, Tom Brady played till 42, I think, and that's up there. But normally you get to that mid-30s, it's like, all right, this guy's on his way out.
Not
right?
for long, yes, league.
For him to only be 34 years old, he's not far removed from playing, right? He's not that far removed from his playing days, which is awesome because you love that. And there's a lot of great coaches who are 30, 40, 50 plus years, who've been there forever. A lot of older coaches that I played for. Al Saunders with the Browns, one of the most amazing coaches I ever got to play for. I think he coached for close to 40 years by the time I got there.
Wow.
So there are a lot of coaches that have been there for a long time that have earned that respect and that you love playing for. But as a young college kid, as someone who wants a player's coach, it is awesome when you get someone that's that age that you can relate to a little bit more, that, hey, coach, when you were playing, it's not too far removed. When you were playing, give me some of your thoughts. How did you treat it? How did you, when you're reading a defense, when you're out there playing defense, when you're watching film, you can relate on those levels. And he's also a player's coach, right? You get the most out of your guys that way when you can relate and mess around and joke around in the meeting rooms and be a little bit more closer in age.
Well, the crazy part is this is the first coach. I always try and look up on YouTube past interviews they've done, try to get a sense of who this person is. This is the first coach I've ever YouTubed, if you will, if that's a verb.
Yeah.
His playing days, like his Penn State interviews are on YouTube. That's not a thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, he is young.
That was my point. And that's the main thing too, is that it's awesome because he has a lot to prove as well, right? He's young.
Yes.
First year as a defense coordinator. He's going to come in here, ears smoking, ready to go, hot, you just on fire. I'm taking that momentum I just had with the Bruins over at UCLA, and I'm bringing that here to USC. And, oh, yeah, by the way, now I get to go be a defensive coordinator for a team that's going to the Big Ten, which is different than the Pac-12, right? There's different offenses over there. But the best stat for me from UCLA last year is Big Ten is power football, run it down your throat. Those power running games, your Michigans of the world, Penn State, not a ton. They're not going to go out there and throw it 50, 60 times a game like the Arizonas, the Arizona States, the teams like that. UCLA last year only gave up 80 yards per game on the ground. Their run defense was phenomenal. They were second in the entire country, and you have to, especially in the Big Ten Conference, have a great running defense. And that's, I really think, what Coach Lynn really made his name last year was how dominant they were on the ground.
The crazy stat that I saw coming into and it didn't happen in the USC-UCLA game, but my preface is that I don't know if it happened post the USC game because I don't pay attention to UCLA after that. But they had not.
None of us do.
They hadn't given up a run of 20-plus yards the whole season. The whole season.
And what was, and just going back to last year, I know we want to put it behind us, what was one of our biggest concerns? Explosive plays. Yep. Explosive plays on the ground, explosive plays through the air. And that's where you stop momentum, especially on the road. Take a crowd out of it. Make them earn it the long way. When you go on the road and you give up explosive plays, or even at home, it takes your own crowd out of it, right? When you're giving up 30-yard runs, 45-yard passes consistently. We were last in the entire country in explosive plays last year. You can't win football games like that. No, you can't be successful like that. So I love that stat. It's a great stat you just brought up. But overall, just looking at UCLA's numbers from last year, 18 points per game, 16th in the country. Only gave up 300 yards per game, 12th in the country. I just mentioned that one, 80 yards per game, second in the country. 220 yards per game through the air, 60th. I'm okay with that. I like that. You're going to give up passing yards. It's tough to play consistent defense. Now, if we're in the bottom 100 there, 115 like we were last year, then you start to see the flaws and you see some mistakes, and it's tough to really have a dominant defense. But when you're in a pass-heavy conference, being 60th in the country, only giving up 220 yards per game, I love that because you do play guys like Caleb Williams, Michael Penix Jr., Bo Nix.
And this league in particular this past season.
Noah Fafita. Yeah, exactly. There's so many quarterbacks that can come out and hurt you with their arm. Another stat that I love from last year, third down percentage allowed, only 34%. 35th in all of college football. Love that. Have to be able to get off the field on third down. And then sacks. They got after the quarterback. They gave us trouble. Caleb was running around all game. 43 sacks on the year, which is 6 in all of college football. So overall, a huge, huge win for Lincoln Riley and this staff, for USC football. Trojan fans, get excited. You know, I'm excited. I'm pumped. I can't wait to see what he's going to do. Again, I know I keep bringing it up, but I love that he's this young, hot shot. I say young. I mean, he's 4 years older than me, which is crazy, but he's 34. He comes in young, hot shot, just came off a huge year. The sky's the limit, right? And players are going to love playing for him, and a lot of great things were said about him from his players last year at UCLA. So I can't wait to see what he does. The only thing, too, that's the risk factor of it, though, right?
Yeah.
Not a ton of proof, not a ton of stats or
the sample size.
The sample size, exactly. Thank you. It's just he's only had 1 year, and yes, that year was great, but can he consistently do it? And now coming to USC, my answer is yes. I think he can, but that's the only thing with me that makes it a little bit of a risk factor. This is a huge hire, right? This is one of the most important off seasons that USC has had, and as long as I can remember, right, going to the Big Ten, huge 2024 schedule. That schedule is brutal. It's going to be rough, and now you have this only 1 year of experienced defensive coordinator getting ready to come in and take over. I think he's going to do great, but again, a huge risk in that, but I can't wait to see what he's going to do. And the last thing that I will say, though, is it does matter, yes, who the defensive coordinator is, but you have to have the pieces in place. You have to recruit the right players, and you have to have the right players here, both from high school level and transfer portal, where Coach Lynn can be successful.
And that's what I was going to ask you next is, you know, you can have the right scheme, but if you have a Latu, of course you're gonna be
Perfect.
you're gonna look good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's not a knock on Lynn. It's just saying that USC right now doesn't have those pieces. And so you just mentioned the schedule. I believe Bill Connolly of ESPN ranks it the second toughest schedule in college football for USC has next season. Plus, the cupboard is slightly bare in that sense, especially in the way that both Lincoln Riley and D'Anton Lynn talk about how big they want guys up front.
Yeah.
That's not the case right now.
You have to have that size up front in the Big Ten.
Yeah, no, and I think that they've made that clear at this point, but it's what are fair expectations? And I know this is something we can talk about in several months from now, but I almost feel like we need to put the preface right now, like it's not going to be, I don't know what, I guess my bigger question is what to expect, because I don't think it's going to be the same plug and play that Lynn had at UCLA.
And I love that point, and that's the biggest part. And for me right now, for Coach Lynn to have, I guess, immediate success or be dominant in year one at USC, it's going to come down to the transfer portal. Yeah, you can have high school guys, but they're not going to be fully ready yet. You can't rely on a bunch of freshmen. We do have a lot of great players that just signed. I'm excited about this class. But if you want to have immediate success, especially going into a conference like the Big Ten, we have to hammer the transfer portal this offseason. We have to go get 3 or 4 more Bear Alexanders. We have to go get 3 or 4 more Kalen Bullocks. We have to go get guys that can cover on the outside. Now, there may be some freshmen that can come and play right away. I'm not discrediting that. But to have immediate success, in my opinion, it's more important to have better players than it is X's and O's, right? The X's and O's can take you so far, and you just said it. You can have a great scheme, but if you don't have the pieces there, if you don't have the chess pieces or the pieces of the puzzle to do that, what you want to do, it's pointless. It's not going to work. And it's not pointless, but it's going to take time to get to that success level. And like you just mentioned it, when you have the players that UCLA had last year, they had very good defense. And a big part of that was, yes, Lynn, but they also had guys like Latu. They had guys that could fly around, and Murphy, the other defensive end, they could get after the quarterback and make it a nightmare for opposing offenses. But that's my biggest point is, what's our defense going to look like next year under Coach Lynn if we can get those pieces in place? That's the biggest question. Yeah.
Now, the glass half full perspective of this is that even with the defense that USC had in the 2023 season, they were still very much in games. Yeah. Now, they had Caleb Williams, but still, I feel like even, a marginal improvement will elevate this team much, much more. But then you add in the factors of Caleb apparently is leaving. And the fact that the schedule gets harder, you're moving to the Big Ten, but we can get to that when we get to that.
Well, yeah, but my final point with that is, and there was and this is kind of random that I'm bringing this up, but I saw this, and did you see the interview from Ferentz? I think his name Ferentz from Iowa.
He took a random shot at USC.
He did.
So
but
I was like,
but
reading it like,
in the college football world, in football world in general, you got to take those on the chin, right? And he's been around a long time.
Yes.
So, but I will say, as much as that frustrated me a little bit and said, hey, I can't wait till we play Iowa, I do agree with what he's saying. And this has been true for as long as football's been around, even in today's era where you have to have great offenses. Defenses win championships. Yeah. That's how you compete. That's how you win football games. That's how you have consistent success. Alabama, Penn State, Michigan, Georgia, teams that are consistently now I'm not saying you're going to win a national championship every year, but giving yourself the best chance to have a top 10 football team year 100%. In and year out, you have to have a like this year with Alabama. They struggled. Now Milroe's playing great at this point, but they went from Milroe to the other backup to another guy. Then he got benched. And they moved third string, but they still continue to win football games because their defense was dominant, right? You can win a lot of football games with a dominant defense as opposed to a team that has to put up 50 every single game. So overall, I love our offense. I think Lincoln Riley's the best play caller in all of college football. And obviously it's going to be tough replacing Caleb Williams, but whoever you put in there with Lincoln Riley calling plays, I feel comfortable. It's just time now for USC football to be a dominant defense like we've seen in the past, and I think Coach Lynn's the guy to get the job done.
Okay, I have several more things to add to this point before we move on to the next hire.
I love these conversational episodes where we can. It's not like here's the preview, where we get to actually talk football a little bit more, and I love hearing your take on it too because you spend so much time around the team and what Coach Riley's saying, day in and day out.
The thing that has been interesting to me, and you hit on it, you need the players, you need to hit the transfer portal,
absolutely.
But, you're entering year 3 of this system of Lincoln Riley trying to put the foundation in place. And he's talked about how he wants to kind of transition out of the first year roster overhaul. We're, getting this is a roster, a transfer portal team, essentially. He was like, I want to get back to traditional high school recruiting. But at what point can you safely make that transition? You know what I mean? It kind of reminds me a little bit of Major League Baseball and how you need to have a farm system.
Yeah.
Because obviously you want to put Lynn in the best position to succeed and you want to get guys out of the transfer portal immediately, but you also want to have that talent, kind of growing
and that you
on your roster, in your system.
Exactly. And I love that point, and I wish that was the case. I wish it was that easy.
Yeah.
But it's tough because guys nowadays, especially freshmen, young guys that come in and play, they want to, hey, I've been told that I'm the best thing since sliced bread, right? I've got these NIL deals. I've got all this hype, these stars. I need to play right away. Well, if you're going to go get transfer guys and put them ahead of me, shoot, I'll just go somewhere else. I'll be a transfer guy now and go play elsewhere. Now, you're going to have guys that can play as freshmen. You're going to have Zachariah Branches of the world. You're going to have guys that are, hey, this guy's staying here no matter what. He's in the right place. I have no doubt that there's certain guys that won't leave. And the harder part as a coach, too, you're not just recruiting them out of high school anymore. You've got to recruit them for all 4 years that they're here.
It's retention now,
as well. But to that point, I wish that was the case, Keely, and I love that. And I wish that you could say, hey, let's rely on these freshmen. Let's build that up. And I know Lincoln wants to do that. And I agree, you can do that. But to keep up in college football world right now, you have to hit the portal hard. Well, you have to go get transfer guys.
That's what I'm saying. You're in such a weird predicament right now.
Even if
USC.
You don't like it, you have to.
But how do you fix one problem while fixing the other?
That's why it's still. That's why a lot of us, and we were talking about before we started the episode, I still don't fully understand the NIL. I do, but it's weird to me. Like, you have guys that are starters that played great, that were so close to being a national championship contending team. I'm thinking more quarterback wise, and their quarterbacks are leaving. Now they're like, all right, I'm going to the portal. I went and Kyle McCord from Ohio State, right? He went 10-1 last year. Lost to Michigan, sure, but 10-1. Was his numbers great? No, but now he's gone. Dylan Gabriel from Oklahoma, right? He played. They played well last year. Did a good job. I'm out. I'm leaving. Then you see other guys around the country too that are staple players. They end up leaving. Cam Ward, I know obviously he wants to go to a higher place. Will
Howard,
guy that's name's been brought up around USC and all that, being at Kansas State. These guys are starters that played well, and now they're leaving. They're going other places. So that's why it's so tough as a coach to think, all right, I've got my quarterback set, my running back's good, I've got guys that I can build up for next year. Oh, wait a minute, 10 of those guys are transferring now. What do I do? So you have to go out and get transfer players like that.
This would have been a great transition to our transfer portal or our roster moves segment of the podcast.
It's coming up, though. Stay tuned.
So stick a pin in that one.
Yeah, no, we got some other coaches to talk about.
So I will say one more thing about Lynn.
Yeah.
Before we transition, I thought it was interesting when he had his introductory press conference. A line that he said was, this is an obvious one. He said, I just want to play the best defense possible. But he said, after the conversations I had with Coach Riley and AD Jen Cohen. One of the reasons I was excited about this job is because I felt like after my conversations with them, they're passionate about playing elite defense here at SC by any means necessary.
Love it.
Which I thought was, you obviously want your new DC to come away with that takeaway, but it seems like, and to me, with the moves that kept happening after Lynn, it felt like, okay, USC is serious. Like,
no, they are.
is serious. And that transitions me into the next move that we saw from USC. Now, one of the gripes that, social media had about Lynn was, he's too young. He's too inexperienced. So in my mind, this felt like the checkmate to that a little bit. What do? You go out and get someone like Matt Ince, who has so much experience. He was named assistant head coach for defense and linebackers coach on December 10th. Social media was like, whoa.
I couldn't believe this hire. I was more shocked about this hire than I was the Lynn hire.
Same.
And it's crazy to think that because we just took Lynn from our rival, who's going to the same conference. By the way, we're going to pull him, bring him over here. Sure.
Yeah.
But this hire blew my mind.
Same.
But I love it. I absolutely love it. And to your point, yes, that's what I just talked about. The only standoff that you have with Lynn is there's not a big enough sample size, right? He's only done it for 1 year. Can he do it year in and year out? Can he consistently be a dominant defensive coordinator? Time will tell. But how do you set up a new defensive coordinator to be successful? You put guys like Matt Ince around him, right? With the experience that he has. Sure, he's been an FCS coach. I don't care, though. His philosophy, what he's done there, can translate to any level of football. You could plug him in the NFL right now with the experience that he has, and he could be successful.
To me, that's more impressive.
Yeah.
The fact that he was able to consistently build a winning culture in a program at North Dakota. You had to recruit guys there.
Yeah.
You had to keep them there. Like, that's impressive. And like you said, FCS level or not, to consistently be a national championship program, one, as a head coach, but also as a DC, you know what winning culture looks like.
Exactly.
And that experience is invaluable.
That's a great point. And you just said it there, culture. That's so important. That's what Lincoln Riley talks about here is culture and just the type of guys we're going to bring in. And that goes back to that point of Coach Riley saying, hey, I want to build up our own guys, but that's why I don't worry too much about the transfer portal with Coach Riley, because he's going to get guys that live up to the culture and the standard that he wants here, and he's proving that with his coaches as well. This Matt Ince hire right here, and just giving you some of the background of him if you're not really sure who he is or if you haven't heard his name a lot. Very successful, like I said, at the FCS level. Had a top 10 defense last year at North Dakota State, only giving up 300 yards per game, and they also only gave up 19 points per game. Has a ton of coaching experience, has been coaching since 1998. And the reason that I bring up the defense is because he's a defensive-minded coach, right? Although he's been a head coach for the last 5 years. But from 2014 to 2018, he was North Dakota State's defensive coordinator. Then he took over as head coach in 2019 up until 2023. Throughout that time as a head coach, FCS National Coach of the Year 2019 and 2021. He won an FCS National Championship in both of those years. And the other years that he was there was, I think, 2 second place, a third place as well. So they were right around either in the semifinal championship games year in and year out. Like you said, culture there of a successful championship winning team. In 2019 went undefeated, 16-0. And I say 16-0 because they play, I think, 4 or 5 playoff games in FCS as well. So to win 16 games and lose 0 was unbelievable. Overall, 16-11 in 5 total seasons as North Dakota State's head coach. Won 2 national championships. Just an amazing hire for USC. And again, I was blown away. I cannot believe. I would love to have been a fly on the wall to hear Coach Riley and Cohen and their pitch to Coach Ince to get him here to come be it's USC, obviously. It speaks for itself.
Sure, but
to leave a program that you've won 2 national championships and you have success year in and year out, to leave and come be at the FBS level as well.
To be a position coach.
Yeah.
A position coach.
Now, I will say this, and this is something I learned in the NFL. Titles matter.
And
they
I
do.
know that.
So the assistant head coach of the defense,
yes,
it's not just linebackers coach. That title absolutely matters, and it's a title game when it comes to coaching, and that's something that's and not a secret, but that's any level of football you get to. Those titles absolutely matter, but it's just crazy to get a head coach to leave to come be, like you said, a position coach.
That wasn't like a knock or anything. I'm just saying like that.
But that was part of the recruiting. I guarantee you they had to throw in the assistant head coach of the defense.
100%.
Now we're talking.
But that's still in some way or fashion. Like there's a little bit of pride or ego you have to swallow a little bit to be like, okay, I'm making all the the calls. I am making every decision. I am the head coach of a program that's won multiple national championships. And here I am deciding to come to a program where I'm not even the DC, let alone head coach.
Yes.
Like,
and I've also been at this place for the last 10 years.
Yes.
My family, my life, everything is here.
Yes.
That just shows you how serious Coach Riley is about that. And I love that he's doing this. And I love that USC fans are excited about it. You can see the buzz around this team right now. Yes, we have guys here that can win games. Yes, we got to go get more players. Yes, the pieces of the puzzle, like we talked about, is going to be important. But when you're getting the right coaches in place, you're setting up these players to develop. That's the most important word as a player when you want to go to a program. How are you going to develop my son? How are you going to develop my freshman or my senior in high school who's going to be a freshman and come play for you over the next 4 years? How are you going to, even if I only get to play for you for 1 year, how are you going to develop me and get me ready for the NFL? We're hiring coaches that can develop players to be successful, not only here at USC, but in the NFL as well. And I think that's so important.
Yeah, that was the other thing that stood out to me is if you have a consistent winning, national championship winning culture at a place like North Dakota State, where the qualities of players different. It's just, that's the fact of the matter because it's FCS.
Absolutely.
The ceiling that you're working with, like, he probably knows how to get the best and most out of his players, you have to.
Yeah.
It's such a valuable trait, and not everyone has it. And so that also is such a sneaky, great characteristic trait of Ince that I'm excited about for USC.
No, it's an awesome hire. It's, again, that one surprised me more than the Coach Lynn hire. I'm equally excited about both, but either way, I can't wait to see what he does, and I can't wait to see how involved he's going to be as well. And it's, again, when you have multiple coaches on a staff that have head coaching experience, that's when you can kind of bounce things off each other. And I guarantee you, when it comes to defensive stuff, yes, Coach Lynn's going to be going to call the plays, going to do all that, set everything up, and have his scheme ran in place. But you know for a fact he's going to pick the brain of Coach Ince, saying, hey, what do you think about this? And I saw a video recently where Coach Ince was talking about how we do this, how we handle fast-paced offenses, how we practice, and just listening to him talk about football was amazing. I loved it. But again, great hire. And again, Coach Riley showing that he's serious about the defense. You have to be getting ready to go to the Big Ten, and the proof is in the coaches that he's hiring right now.
I will say, though, it was classic USC timing because, as I said, it was announced December 10th. Yeah. That was also the day that Bronny James made his collegiate debut after a cardiac event. Like, literally the one time that I'm like, you know what? I'm dedicating my resources to basketball.
Yeah.
Football was like, no.
That was
you can't have a moment.
I'll tell you right now, though, LA's buzzing.
It is.
And I know you're hurting a little bit, but my Dodgers...
Your Dodgers?
My Dodgers. I'm a Dodger fan.
Thank you for listening to the Victory Podcast. The episode's
we're done.
Now over.
But LA's buzzing right now, right? We got a new defensive coordinator.
We got about it.
A great assistant head coach of the defense. Bronny James is back playing healthy, which was awesome to see. LeBron's going to the games.
And
Lincoln Riley's the head coach here. We're going to the Big Ten.
Nothing else
by the
is
way,
happening.
Shohei Ohtani is now an LA Dodger.
Nope, don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Anyways.
The third and final defensive move that has happened.
Moving on. We're not talking about.
We have questions about it.
Okay.
It's fine.
All right, let's move on.
Doug Belk
love this
was
one
announced
too.
as the secondary coach on December 16th. So more recently, Riley said, quote, Doug Belk is another tremendous addition to our staff. His impressive body of work and reputation as a high-level coach and recruiter speak for themselves. This was kind of a bang-bang newsy day as well. Dante Williams announced that he kind of basically gave a thank you to USC for his time there, and then it later came out that he was heading to Georgia to be their cornerbacks coach. But as I mentioned, Belk is now the new secondary coach, so that was we got both news of Dante's departure and Belk's arrival in one day. But I thought this was a really interesting hire.
Yeah, and first and foremost, Dante did a lot of great things here. Great recruiter. Loved the way they recruited. He got a lot of great players to come here to USC. You understand the move, right? You have to see that development. You have to see the production. It just wasn't there. It was time for a change. Obviously, Dante felt the same way. Goes to Georgia. Both parties go their separate ways. Wish him nothing but the best. Him and his family. Thank 100%. You for everything you did at USC. But yeah, I'm so excited for Coach Belk. And like you mentioned, just a little bit more of a background on him. Comes from the Nick Saban coaching tree, right? And Saban even said, I've been trying to get him for a couple of years now, so he's been bouncing around. I know you got some quotes loaded and ready to go.
Can I just drop his kind of
hit
where
me with
he
the
went?
Saban quote first.
So he was a GA, a grad assistant.
For 3 years.
Yes,
at
but
Alabama.
he was also part of the iconic 2015 Alabama team that had Lane Kiffin, Kirby Smart, Mario Cristobal, Billy Napier, and Dan Lanning on the same staff,
all
which is
at
just
the same time.
bizarre. But Saban said, I tried to hire him a couple of times. I haven't been able to get to hire him. And Saban's talking about Belk, but he did a great job when he was at Alabama, and he's having a great career, and it doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
So to me, if I knew nothing about Belk, but Saban's like, I've been trying to hire him, I'm like, cool.
Exactly. And
That's
if you're
a
a
good
GA,
coach.
if you're a GA, you're a defensive coach, and you're a GA, and you go to Alabama with one of the greatest defensive-minded coaches of all time in Nick Saban. Also, the defensive coordinator at the time was Kirby Smart. So you're also learning from him and then all the other coaches that you mentioned as well. But it speaks volumes again of how fast he's gone up this coaching tree. And hearing Saban say that obviously solidifies that. 2014 to 2016, Alabama GA. Then the very next year, 2017 to 2018, goes to West Virginia, gets a position job as a cornerbacks coach. And then the following year, right? So he's gone GA, position coach for 2 years. Now 2019, he gets a co-defensive coordinator job at Houston. The following year, 2020, assistant head coach, co-defense coordinator. Then 2021 to 2023, he's not a co anymore. Now he becomes the full-time defensive coordinator and assistant head coach at Houston. Very, very quickly went up the ranks to get a defensive coordinating job, same way as Lynn. So we're getting these coaches that are, and again, another coach that left a defensive coordinator job to come here to take a position job. So it just shows how aggressive Lincoln Riley is right now at building this defensive staff. And he also mentioned, I'm not done. We're not done. There's still other guys we're talking to, all of that. Get through the bowl game first. But overall, highly sought after coach. And if Nick Saban wants him, obviously that's one of the best to ever do it. And you get, I'm not trying to hype up Alabama, but you got to give credit where credit's due. And
you're not trying to hype up Alabama? Oh, meaning
like I'm saying, like I'm not trying to. I brought up Saban like 4 times. No, I know this is a SC podcast, but we're having a conversation. I'm saying Alabama is who they are, and Nick Saban's the greatest college coach of all time. I feel comfortable saying that. Riley has a chance to keep going that way, and I fully believe that. But right now, as it stands, in my opinion, in my generation specifically, Saban, he's the top guy. And if you want him and you're going after the coach that we just got and he still is not going back to Alabama where he started and coming to USC again, that just shows me how aggressive Lincoln Riley is right now. And it's a great hire for USC, and I'm excited to see what he can do in developing these younger secondary players.
The interesting thing about Belk, and I feel like I've been preaching for everyone to read this article.
I know, you sent it to me today too. I looked at it, you're like, please read this before we start. I'm like, all right. Give me the Spark Notes.
And you were like, no, it's too long.
It was long.
It was a good
I did
article,
read it, though, but I read some of the quotes in there are phenomenal. I know you're about to read them.
Yes, and I have to give a shout out to Alicia D'Anton of Rain Troy, who sent that my way, so that's how I know it. But the quote that stood out to me, and I think the main takeaway, the TLDR for people who don't like to read, understandable.
What is TLDR?
Oh, it's too long, didn't read.
Oh, yeah.
It's internet slang.
Me.
That's you. Yes, you clicked on it and you're
Continue.
like, no. Basically, it really highlighted the relationship side of Belk's coaching ability and how he approaches coaching in that sense with like the people first type of
players coach.
Yes.
That's what I was saying about Lynn being younger.
Which one I think is important considering you're losing Dante Williams, who was very much a people person.
Great point.
On the recruiting trail, whatnot. But a quote that stood out to me from the article was something that Belk said about his coaching style. He said, if we don't see championship effort on tape, then that's how I'm going to challenge them and coach them. I think each guy should be coached fairly, but I don't think every guy should be coached the same, which I thought was very important.
I love that. That quote right there. That tells you all you need to know about a coach. That's a coach that's self-aware, that understands how to get the most out of his players. And I immediately relate that back. I did read that part, by the way. So I read the stuff that you sent me, but I did when I read that.
You didn't.
I did.
Okay.
I did. But when I read that quote, I relate that back to me being a quarterback, right? And that's something as a leader, as a coach. I've obviously never been a coach, and I do private quarterback training, stuff like that, trying to
as
get,
the hat says.
Little shout out. But as a quarterback, you have to know how to get the most out of your players, right? You can be a leader, but you can't just be, I'm a leader and I'm going to do it my way or the highway, right? This is how I lead. If you don't like it, get the heck out of here. No, You have to understand there's certain guys as a quarterback, as a leader, as a coach that you can go up to and cuss out and yell at, and I don't know how to say I'm not trying to cuss here. But
some people say like mother F.
Yeah. I don't know if I could say that.
Sure.
But you know what I'm saying? I can go up to someone and say, hey, wake up. And I was that type of guy. I loved when people would yell at me, wake me up. Yeah, I did. I love when coaches would do that. But there's certain guys where you get the most out of them by doing that. There's also certain guys that you go up to that you MF, you yell at, you say, hey, wake up, what are you doing? That shut down, right? And they don't respond to that. Yeah. But it's also in football. There were guys, and I'm not going to say any names, but there are guys I would go up to and say, hey, let's catch the ball, man. Wake up. What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Shut down. I know for the rest of the practice, they'd be done. So those were the guys I'd say, okay, I can't do that. I'm going to go up to them. If they drop a pass, if they miss an assignment, I'll go up to them and say, hey, come over here. Let's go to the side. Hey, you're good, bro. Hey, I trust you. I believe in you. This team trusts you. Drop it. It's over. You drop the pass. It's, move on.
Drop it.
Yeah, or not drop it, but you know what I'm saying.
Drop it figuratively,
yeah,
not
figuratively.
literally.
Quit doing that. No.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying. I would go up and say, hey, put it behind us. It's a drop pass. I throw picks all the time. It's okay. I'm going to throw an interception. I'm going to put it behind me. I'm going to move on.
Yeah.
There's guys that respond that way. There's other guys you have to go up to and yell at, right? Get them going. You know how to fire them up. But him making that quote, and a lot of, I think every coach, again, I've never coached, but should understand that when it comes to working, especially with college players. NFL, you don't really get a choice, right? If you're not going to produce, they're going to replace you.
Yeah.
So I don't care if you get yelled at or they want a cupcake, whatever you want to do, you've got to figure it out. But in college, when you're developing players, and I think the biggest transition, the hardest transition is going from high school to college. When you're developing players at that level, you have to know how to get the most out of them. And if you can get a coach that knows how to do that and speaks about that in an interview and understands that, I'm already on board. I don't know much else about Doug Belk, but if he understands that side of things, I love that. And I know I talked a lot about that, but I think that's so important when it comes to coaching and developing players is how to get the most out of them. You can't just yell at everybody and scream at them. Guys are going to shut down. You have to know how to approach each player individually.
An interesting tidbit about his hire is that he was obviously announced as the secondary coach. Prior to this, under Lincoln Riley, USC they split up their secondary duties, if you will. Dante Williams was the cornerbacks coach. Alex Grinch was the safeties coach. Now they're all under one umbrella, which I don't know how you feel about that, Cody.
I like that, but also Coach Lynn was a safeties coach prior to being a defensive coordinator, right? With the Chargers, even with the Bills and the Chargers, defensive assistant, but then with the Texans, assistant secondary, then took over as secondary coach. Then with the Ravens, he was a safeties coach. So I'm assuming when it comes to individual drills, when it comes to defensive drills and stuff, Coach Lynn will probably be more involved with the safeties. Now, he'll have to be everywhere, but I think they'll be there. But I like that. I like safeties, corners. I mean, yeah, there's different techniques. There's different assignments there. You're doing different things. There are different types of player types. But at the same time, you're kind of all under that defensive back area. So I don't mind having one guy doing all that. And at least you're always going to be on the same page when you have Coach Belk, when you're working in cloud coverage. Hey, I need to make sure there's a guy over the top. There's going to be no miscommunication because you're all in the same meeting room watching the same film together with one coach.
When looking at the resumes of Entz and Belk, we were talking about how much experience they have, or that they were coming from higher positions to be position coaches.
Yeah.
One criticism that social media brought up, or fear, if you will, because there's always,
here we go.
Everyone's always negative.
Let me hear it.
Too many cooks in the kitchen, which I think is a fair concern, but I also think you don't take this role without understanding what comes with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I agree. A big part of that is kind of understanding what your role is going to be, right? So now Coach Entz, coming from being a head coach, winning multiple national championships, Coach Belk, coming from being a defensive coordinator, now both taking position jobs under Coach Lynn, who, by the way, is only 34 years old and only a second-year defensive coordinator. But the main reason why all the coaches are okay with that, or they take on maybe those, I guess, lesser roles, if you will, but you're going to a big-time program like USC, is that they know if we're successful here, everybody eats, right? It's like the same thing for a player. Like if we're winning games, if we're playing well, the starters, the backups, the O-linemen, the receivers, the NIL is a little bit better. Everything else is a little bit better. Opportunities are better. It's the same for a coaching staff. If we're winning games, no matter who the DC is, no matter what your role is on this staff, guys are going to get opportunities to go get head coaching job elsewhere, right? Coach Entz, Coach Belk can take that next step. Now, I hope we keep them for as long as we can, especially Coach Lynn, right? He's going to be a hot commodity. He's going to be someone that, especially if USC has a successful defense the next couple of years, is going to be a head coach fairly soon. But overall, it just comes down to if everybody's successful and you understand the role, and that's something that Coach Riley's talked about with not only players but the coaching staff, is the culture, right? You're going to have a team that's a bunch of team-first guys that are playing and coaching. Sky's the limit for success, and I think that's what's going to happen here. And again, Coach Lynn is very young, but I guarantee you he's going to pull from these other coaches who have head coaching qualities or have been head coaches elsewhere to help him be successful as well.
Yeah, it seems like the move was to surround, not a knock on Lynn, but surround Lynn with people who maybe have been in situations that Lynn hasn't fully experienced yet.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and I guarantee you, and I've said it before, Lynn is going to do a great job. He could call defense on his own, but he's going to pull. That's what you have assistants for. That's why they're called assistant coaches, to help you so that you don't have to be
Superman.
to see it all. You don't have to see everything. And you're going to have Coach Entz come up and say, hey, Coach Lynn, I saw this, this, and this. What do you think of that? Right? And that's what Coach Riley did. Coach Riley's an amazing head coach, amazing offensive play caller. He brought in Cliff Kingsbury, who's right up there with him, I would say, as a play caller, as a coach, when he was a head coach and calling offenses, because he said, hey, I know this guy can help our program. I don't care that he's been a head coach elsewhere. I don't care what his title's been before. I don't care about all those things. There's not going to be turmoil. There's not going to be a little bit of confliction there. He's going to come in and help us, and I can swallow my pride and know that Cliff Kingsbury is an amazing football mind. He's going to come in and help me and help me see things that maybe I'm missing here. So it's the same thing on the defense, right? Coach Lynn's an amazing defensive coordinator. I think he's going to be very successful, but it's also great to have great assistants that can help you be the best you can be.
Now, final point from this section, at least for me, is that you mentioned Riley did say earlier in the week that they're not done with the defensive staff and its construction.
Yeah.
It's kind of 1 foot here, 1 foot in the other. You know, you have 3 new coaches right now, but you still have coaches who are taking care of Holiday Bowl prep. And we've gotten questions about that too. Lynn will not be calling plays for the Holiday Bowl. That's not something you want to put on tape right before the offseason. But right now they still have Coach Odom, Coach Nua, Coach Manning. I believe Taylor Mays is still in his elevated role. So
Love
interesting, right?
I keep and I forgot until you just said his name. I hope we keep him around. I hope he stays here too. I'm again big Taylor Mays fan, but he's going to be one of those guys I think is going to be a hot commodity too. Now he's got a position role, but yeah, I'm with you. You don't. And the other point about Coach Lynn is not coaching is there's no way you're going to install a defense in 4 weeks from what he did. So I know I'm fully on board with that. But I will say it's going to be very important for some of these younger guys and some of these, I guess, older guys that are staying. This is kind of like an audition. Now, they can go back and watch tape throughout the year and stuff, but this is an audition. You got your defensive coordinator. Same thing when I was playing in the Las Vegas Bowl. Steve Sarkisian, who was taking over as the head coach, was watching us. You feel a little bit more pressure there, but you know as a defensive player, you've got to go out, perform well, get great momentum going into the offseason, and also you want to show Coach Lynn where I can fit into your scheme next year.
Is there any value for Lynn seeing like in-person playing in-person game tape, if you will, quote unquote?
I'll tell you, as a player,
such a stupid sentence.
No, but I get what you're saying. But as a player, there's a little more pressure. Like, especially as a younger guy who maybe didn't get to play a whole lot throughout the year. This is my opportunity to put great things on film, or as an older guy, things that I've struggled with throughout the year. Maybe I didn't have the best pass rush. Maybe I struggled taking on a double team and being, having great gap integrity or covering on the back end. I can show how I've worked my tail off these last couple of weeks and go fix those things and go have a great Holiday Bowl, a great bowl game, and build that momentum going into next year. But yeah, I think it's going to be awesome for Coach Lynn to be able to see this team play in person and watch them. You can learn so much from film, but being able to be there and watch that. But I guarantee you he's learning a lot more from these practices right now, being hands-on a little bit and being close and personal with the players than he will in the Holiday Bowl. He'll just get to see how they can compete in a game setting.
Interesting. Okay. Well, any other thoughts about this coaching portion of the show?
No, I'm excited. I think it's awesome. It's an amazing staff. Coach Riley is doing what he said. He's making his point proven that, hey, USC is going to care about defense. We're going to go win championships by having a great defense, and we're going to attack not only the coaches but the players. We're going to get after it and have a defense that the fans can be proud of, and he's obviously proven that right now.
Alrighty, well, we got to get into the roster updates for USC, at least as of recording this. I feel like it changes every day.
As of right now.
As of right now, this moment.
Yeah.
Before we do, just want to give a thanks to Audi. Performance is more exhilarating on a real road. Introducing the Audi Q5. Visit your SoCal Audi dealers, proud sponsors of the USC Trojans. And at Ralph's, everyone wins when it comes to saving big, because when you order online through the Ralph's app, you get the same great prices, deals, and rewards on pickup or delivery that you do in store. So no matter how you shop, you always save big at Ralph's. Ralph's, fresh for everyone. Fight on.
Fight on.
Alrighty, we got to get into roster updates. I had this feeling once the regular season ended. I was like, the Portapalooza is kind of too much for me to keep track. And I was just like, I'll just start a Google Doc. And luckily I did, because the Palooza'd. So I'm just going to read off of my doc. I might just go. So what I did was I organized it by who announced for the portal, who announced that they're returning, who announced that they're declaring for the NFL draft, and I put outstanding. We don't know their status right now. So we can go grouping by grouping, Cody, if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
So first up, these are the people who have announced for the transfer portal. Zamarian Gordon, Darwin Barlow, Jude Wolfe, Matt Colombo, Dejon Benton, Raleek Brown, Michael Jackson III, Fabian Ross, Chris Thompson Jr., Andrew Millick, Michael Tarquin, Mario Williams, Malachi Nelson, Damani Jackson, and Corey Foreman. So an interesting bunch of names, especially those last ones. I do believe this is in chronological order. I will say we did hear from Lincoln Riley earlier in the week, and he did say that Malachi Nelson entering the portal was a surprise to the staff. And that was actually when I said stick a pin in it. That was what I was referring to in my mind, because you had talked about, like, as a coach, you bank on having people in your class, having like the construction of each class and the depth that you have. And so I feel like Malachi Nelson really rocked the boat there for USC's quarterback depth. But overall, I guess, I don't know how you want to go over this, but it's a lot of names there.
Yeah, I guess it's just my overall view of it. And I've talked about the portal before. Hate to see it. There's a lot of big-time names, and you get attached to some of these kids, right? Especially being in the media and as a fan and watching these kids. You love to see their development, especially under Coach Riley. And some of these defensive guys getting now to go, would have had an opportunity to play under Coach Lynn, but now we're not going to get to see that. And I understand you've got to do what's best for you as a player. So I'm not knocking any of these kids. I hope all of them go be successful elsewhere. I'm so excited to go watch what Raleek Brown can do. Mario Williams obviously has been Oklahoma, then here at USC, did a lot of great things for us. Malachi Nelson, that one hurt me a little bit as a quarterback. I was so excited, broke down his high school tape. I know obviously he had an injury and developmental stuff and all that, but it takes time, right? It does take time to get to that point. And obviously Coach Riley saying that was a surprising decision for him, you can tell he's a little frustrated with that. He knows how good Malachi can be and wanted to work with him, but at the end of the day, you've got to respect the kid. You've got to understand they're going to do what's best for them. They're going to talk to their family. They're going to talk to people that are in their corner. You can't always, and especially with, it's not just here too. It's everywhere, but especially with how easy the portal is now is say, hey, I'm kind of uncertain. Let me just go throw my name out here. I'm done. I'm gone. I'm out. That's how easy it is. You don't have to get approved like it was when I was here. You don't have to sit out a year, drop the JUCO, do all these things.
You do have papers, though, that have to go through the university. And I will put a disclaimer here. Just because they're in the portal doesn't mean that they're necessarily gone immediately. It depends on the, thought process of the coach itself, but it is an open door, technically.
Yeah.
So if you enter your name in the portal, that doesn't mean that your time at your school is officially over. You could always come back. Matt Fink did that a while back. So
I think
but we've seen at other programs, some coaches have drawn the line where if you entered the portal, you're not coming
done.
back.
Yeah.
We don't know Lincoln Riley's stance, but I'm just
either,
throwing that out there.
If I was a coach, I would probably lean towards that. And not in a rude way or disrespectful way, but hey, if you don't want to be here and compete and you want to do what's best for you, great. But I've also got to look out for my team. I can't let them know that there's guys that wanted to leave and say, hey, I want them to come back now.
And in that same vein, I thought it was very interesting listening to Riley speak in the early signing day presser. He kept he kept emphasizing the fact that the people who committed were dying to be USC Trojans.
Yeah.
He was like, they never wavered. They knew exactly what they wanted. And a poignant quote to me that he said was, the person that wavers prior to signing day or on signing day is going to waver when adversity strikes.
Love that.
At their university.
True. Absolutely true.
He said specifically if you are an incoming freshman and you're not played or whatever. So it seems like that has been a takeaway for this staff in this new portal era. Everyone's learning.
You know what I would love to hear though?
What?
I would love to hear an unfiltered
100%.
Lincoln Riley or any coach's take on the portal. Now I understand you have to go attack the portal to be successful and get good players. As bad as it is losing kids, it's equally as good getting players from other places in the country. I understand that. There's always going to be push-pull no matter what.
And USC has benefited tremendously from the portal.
Absolutely. I mean, just think about the last 2 years, how different this roster looked
100%.
from 2021. But understanding just how easy it is to leave, to go. And like you said, there's paperwork, but at the same time, you just go basically, hey, I'm out. I'm going to the portal.
Yeah.
See if anybody offers me, and then I'm gone. And it's not like it was when I was here. I can't, I hate saying that. Like, hey, when I was playing this and that. But at the same time, college football, the landscape, everything is constantly changing. And I know they've changed a little bit with the periods of the portal, when you can go, when you can leave, all those things. But it's crazy to me. It's NFL free agency, and it's so crazy that they haven't come up with a better way to go about this.
My stance is that college football needs a commissioner.
Yeah.
Like, we're in this weird limbo where, like, we're pretending that it's not what it is.
Yeah.
And because we're doing that, there's, like, a lot of consequences to that. Not consequences, but, like, because I'm very pro, like, if your coach has the ability to leave whenever.
You should, too.
You should have,
Great point.
100%.
I don't disagree with the portal.
No, I just want to make that clear.
Okay, yeah.
But I do think that there needs to be more, like, thought. I don't know. There's something. Because I just don't want, and I sound so, I don't know.
No, say it. This is the time to talk about it. The portal's huge right now.
I just don't want college football to lose its soul.
It has. It has. I don't want to say it has.
It's trending.
It's going that way. Yes, it is. And it's come to the part now where it's like, it used to be, here in the recruiting wise, kids would always say, I'm going to be spending the next 3 to 4 years. I'm going to be spending the next 4 years of my life. I'm going to better my education and my playing for the next 4 years. Now it's just, I'm committing to here. I'm committing to here. I'm going here because they know, like, it's 1 year. Most likely it's 1 year and then you're going elsewhere. And it's not everybody. There are kids that stay there and stay true and stick through their program. But majority of players, even players, like I said earlier, that are starters, that played well, that you would think are guaranteed to come back, they go elsewhere to get better NIL deals, to better themselves financially, to do things, to get better opportunities that they may not get at the school they're at right now. And it's just tough to see, and it's tough to follow along with.
Yeah.
But I hate looking at this list and seeing so many players leaving. And one more thing, too, it just dawned on me. It's not on here because I know it was fresh. Tackett Curtis, right? Isn't he?
Yes, I did not put that in there.
Okay,
Thank you.
I remember that one. That's another tough one. That one hurts. And that one was a little frustrating. I'm not going to get too into it because I'm happy for all these kids. I want them to have the best future. I want them to all be successful. Once a Trojan, always a Trojan, right? The Trojan family always is going to support these guys. It is. It's just tough, though, to see some of these kids that I wanted to see develop here at USC to see them leave and go elsewhere.
I will say, though, I feel like part of this was exacerbated by the fact that people got a COVID shirt, a COVID year of eligibility.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more eligibility to play around with, if you will. But it's just a lot right now.
There is. The fact you said that, too, there's so many, like, 7th-year senior. There's, like, 25, 24-year-olds that are playing, which is crazy. I'm not knocking them. Hey, especially with NIL, get as much as you can out of it, especially if you don't know
and your education. Like, people are working, like, their second master's.
Yeah, exactly. It is just a weird time for college football. I agree with what you said about college football being its own, having a commissioner, being its own thing. Chip Kelly, I know he's a coach at UCLA, but I got to give him credit on that. He had a great, if you haven't heard it yet, go listen to it. He had a great take on what college football should be and how to better handle the transfer portal and the new changing of different conferences and all this realigning stuff. He had a great take on that. But overall, it is what it is. It sucks to see these kids leave. I hate seeing some of these guys go, especially Malachi. I'm a quarterback. I loved watching him and kind of following his development throughout high school and then getting here at USC. But wish them nothing but the best. And at the same time, Coach Riley knows if guys are leaving, we're going to have to bring better guys in as well and go attack the portal and get some good football players.
So the next category is returning. Very short list. And what I mean by this is someone who's announced what's happening. Yeah. Jamil Muhammad did announce. Oh, that was your
preseason. He played well this year. He had a good year. I got to give him credit. He played well. He brought that spark. Great pass rusher. I think one more year for him developing, continuing to play here at USC is going to be great. I think he's going to do really good things under Coach Lynn as well. So that was great news. I'm excited he's coming back.
Yeah, everyone doubted him because Georgia State, but
yeah, he did it. I got to give him credit. Now, obviously, areas he can improve on, and he'll self-scout and he'll understand that. But he did have some great sparks throughout the year and created some momentum on the defensive side of the ball.
Now, the declared category: Brendan Rice,
okay,
Marshawn Lloyd, who is not playing in the Holiday Bowl,
okay,
Taj Washington,
okay,
which. Super underrated wide receiver for USC.
I think he's going to be. Well, I can't wait till we get to our. Anyways, when we get to the NFL stuff, continue.
Okay. Christian Roland-Wallace. He did not officially announce it, but he did accept a invitation to the Shrine Bowl, which is something you do when you're declaring
writing
for
the
on
NFL.
the wall. Yes.
Yeah. Declared, by the way, means declared for the NFL. Yeah, I mean, this list, I just wish these guys nothing but the best. When we get to the Pro Day episodes and the NFL stuff, we'll kind of break this down a little bit more and some comparisons and stuff. But yeah, wish these guys nothing but the best. Go represent USC well in the NFL.
The outstanding category and the final category.
Okay.
What is a better name for it?
No, it's good.
I feel like you're making fun of the fact
No, it's good.
Okay,
I'm ready.
Fine. The
we don't know yet category.
Yes, the we don't know, quote unquote.
They haven't said yet.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, Caleb Williams is one of those like, Does he need to announce? I know.
Okay.
I know. Lincoln Riley announced that he will not be playing in the Holiday Bowl, which everyone knows at this point. He's not said anything. He did post something on his story about like top draft picks, and he was on it, obviously. So
I'm not going to say anything because I'm not Caleb Williams, but we know. We know. And he's going to go do great things, but we know. But right now, yes, he hasn't announced it yet. So and if Trojan fans are hoping he comes back, there was the GQ article by his dad that may give you a little bit of hope, but it's, continue. We know. We'll wait till the announcement, but
sure.
Yeah.
Next up on the list, Kalen Bullock.
Now this one is outstanding. I don't know.
Yes, we do not know.
Again, if someone declares they want to go to the NFL, great. I wish them nothing but the best, but I would love to see number 7 back at USC again.
2 more on the list, Bryson Shaw and Mason Cobb. Mason Cobb did not walk on senior day. He is a senior, though, so things to think about.
Yeah, and Bryson Shaw is an interesting one, right? He played a good amount this year at safety. Had some ups, had some downs, had some stuff that he can work on, but not really sure there. And then Mason Cobb not walking on senior day was a little surprising. Mm-hmm. It's crazy to me, too, because I assumed all these guys are seniors, or a lot of these guys are seniors, and then you realize they have another year.
Well, that's the COVID part of it, where I'm like, I have no idea people's eligibility left. It's crazy.
Yeah, but either way, well, these 4 I know are big names from last year, so we'll keep you guys updated. But yeah, I mean, it's a crazy time period. Normally, it's the season ends, and you go, all right, everybody that's a senior, see ya, thanks for everything. The other, underclassmen, we'll see you next year. And we move on. Now we're talking about portal. You got an outstanding category now.
I know,
We've got declared categories, returning and all that. But, a lot of news, a lot of big-time players on these lists, too. So it's going to be a new-look team next year on both sides of the football.
Which, is this just the state? Is this what college football is? Yeah. And we had this whole discussion earlier in the episode where I'm like, oh, well, you got to develop. You have to have a quote-unquote farm system. Is there is there development, or is it you reach a certain star level and you can do whatever you want? You know where we're going with this?
No, 100%. It's because it's 2 parts to it. The transfer part is you're not playing where you're at and you're not getting an opportunity, so you leave, right? Those are a lot of the guys. But there's also guys, like you said, that are playing well, that are big-time players, even younger guys that have a great year, but then realize, I'm going to go try to make more money elsewhere. I'm going to go to a bigger program. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go try to win a national championship. Whatever it may be. And it's tough because it's so hard to keep guys. And I just said it earlier, you're not recruiting out of high school. You have to recruit them every single year to stay at your program if you want them to. Now, there are guys that you can go talk to and say, hey, it's not working out here. I would advise you to go look elsewhere. I'm going to be respectful as a head coach and say, hey, I hope you go have success, but you're not going to play here. Great. I think that's a great idea for coaches to do that. But at the same time, it's tough to know how good guys are going to be early on, but guys are leaving too fast to figure it out. So I don't know, but I'm not looking forward to every year, this time of year, when we see all the transfer lists and the guys leaving. It's always tough, but wish them nothing but the best. And again, always part of the Trojan family, and we hope you're successful elsewhere, especially the guys going to the NFL. We'll continue to root for you, but yeah, it's a tough one.
Now, what's interesting, and we talked about this at the top, I call it seeding, but the spacing of the quarterback classes for USC right now is a little wild.
Yeah.
Mainly because, as it stands right now, Miller Moss is the only, and Jake Jensen, who transferred in.
It's Miller time.
It's Miller time.
Wait for you got a preview episode coming up, but
talk about an opportunity for Miller.
Yeah.
He's really the guy.
Yeah.
You're looking around the quarterback room well,
we talked about auditions for the defense in front of Coach Lynn. This is Miller Moss's time, right? He's waited his time. Mm-hmm. He didn't leave. He didn't go transfer. He could have played elsewhere. Mm-hmm. He probably could have went to another school around the country and been a starter. But he said, no, I love USC football. I'm going to stay here. This is home for me. I'm going to stick it out. I'm behind Caleb Williams, who I know won the Heisman last year, who's obviously going to be the starter this year, which he was. And I have not started a football game yet throughout my career, and I've been here since 2021. The only time he played really in, I hate calling it this, but meaningful time was when Jackson Dart got hurt against Cal in 2021. Outside of that, it's been mostly cleanup time. When the game's pretty much out of reach, he'll go out there, get the starters out. This is his opportunity. I'm so glad you brought this up, and we're foreshadowing a little bit because we're going to do a preview episode for the Holiday Bowl, but it's Miller time. It's his opportunity. Go out there, show what you can do, make a huge statement for yourself going, because I don't know who's going to be here, right? There's a lot of names that have been thrown around in the transfer portal. Obviously, we can't talk about it yet because we don't know who's going to come here. But at the end of the day, Miller Moss, in my opinion, has a leg up on the competition. He needs to go solidify that against Louisville in the Holiday Bowl going into the offseason.
And what's interesting is Riley talked about there is a possibility now that USC takes 2 quarterbacks out of the portal, an older quarterback and a younger quarterback.
Yeah,
But
Oregon just did it. Oregon did it with Dylan Gabriel and Dante Moore. They got a guy who's going to play 1 year, and they got a guy they can develop. With Miller and Jake, the only guys here, wouldn't surprise me.
It's just
you kind of have to, and we don't have a quarterback signing in this class. So
it's wild.
And now Malachi's gone. It's a crazy. But I will say this: the best part about it is we do have the quarterback guru, if you will, I guess, or one of the best, if not the best, quarterback coaches in all of college football, Lincoln Riley. So it shouldn't be too hard to get guys here, but. Again, the portal plays a big factor in that. So you've got to be able to recruit, and NIL as well. You've got to be able to be aggressive in NIL, and that's a huge part of it. But either way, right now for the foreseeable future, it's Miller Moss. He's QB1. It's your time to shine. You're getting all the reps at practice. You don't have to go be Caleb Williams. Don't try to. Don't fill his shoes. Don't do any of that. Be Miller Moss. Go out there, perform well, and you got all the Trojan family behind you.
One final thing for me, wide receiver depth. Yeah. That also feels a little shaky at the moment right now. So something to watch for as we go forward with portal and whatnot.
Interesting part about it is we saw a lot of these younger guys play early on. And I don't know how many guys have burned their red shirt or not.
Yeah.
But Jacoby Lane, I think Deuce is probably there because Deuce and Jacoby played a good amount towards the end, right?
Yes, but was that because they didn't get... Jacoby didn't play that much in the first half of the season.
Okay. I just don't know where guys are at in that fourth game.
Yes, I know.
So how are we going to play those younger freshmen? Are we going to try to save a red shirt?
Oh, you're talking about for the Holiday Bowl?
Yeah.
Yes. I was talking about in general, but yeah.
Well, going forward as well. Yes. But right now, immediately,
that's a great point.
It's who's going to play in this game because Miller's and Louisville has a great run defense, right? And we're going to preview that. But Louisville has great run defense. Where we can take advantage in this football game is throwing the football, right? With Miller Moss and the USC wide receivers. But who's going to be out there is the question mark right now. Like you said, Mario Williams, portal, Brennan Rice. Declared. Taj Washington declared. Like, there's so many guys that played a significant amount of time this year who aren't going to be playing in this game. Who's going to be out there performing? And then also going in the next year, like you said, who's going to be out there? So it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be interesting. But either way, the depth that's going to be the biggest question year in and year out, right? Yeah. Who's going to be the depth? How are we going to replace this guy? And then we say, okay, we got a portal guy. Got another portal guy. We've got some freshmen, freshmen coming in, all of this. But it's musical chairs. It's welcome to NFL free agency. That's what college football is.
It's wild.
It is wild.
It's wild for sure. Okay, any final thoughts before we get to some questions?
I'm excited. We haven't done questions in a while, and we haven't done an episode in a while, so I've missed hearing from everybody. So.
Right?
I'm ready.
First up, just want to give a thanks to Audi. What if there was a portal to the future? Enter the fully electric Audi Q4 e-tron with an advanced touchscreen infotainment system. Audi, the future awaits. Take your health to the next level with Symbiotica. Their premium, easy-to-take supplements fuel your body with key vitamins and minerals to help you reach peak performance on and off the field. Elevate your health today by going to Symbiotica.com and use code FIGHTON for 15% off site-wide.
Fight on.
I almost lost it.
You saved it, right? I heard it.
I
okay,
almost
good.
lost it.
I'm glad you said it because I didn't want to call you out.
You
but
were
you
about
lost
to.
it at key. You're like, Kimba. No, but you got it. You crushed it.
I know, because I was like, oh my God, minerals is coming up.
I know.
I got to say minerals.
No, that was good. One take.
Well, heading into questions.
Yeah,
First up is from Joe. He said, what was your biggest surprise of all that has transpired so far in the off/bowl season? Good question.
Biggest surprise for me is a lot of things to be excited about. Biggest surprise, getting Coach Ince to be on the defensive staff. I'm serious. That was to grab him from being a head coach at North Dakota State and all the success he had here, and Lincoln to convince him to come be on the defense, not even defensive coordinator, but to be on the staff. Now, assistant head coach is, obviously a big title, but to have him come be on the defensive staff, that shocked me. That was surprising in a good way, but I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, I would say that or maybe Malachi. A little less surprising, but surprising nonetheless. We got a question from West Coast Braves who said, is Coach Riley retaining Cliff Kingsbury another year? And if so, what is his expected role? We don't actually know these inner workings. Yeah. He has been at practice, Holiday Bowl practice.
He has?
He has, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would hope so. I would like that. I mean, I think that'd be a great, obviously, football mind to keep on the offensive side of the ball, but yeah, I have no idea.
It feels like one of those things where if he does move, we'd hear about it, but until then, assume that he's still on the staff.
Yeah.
Unless he's like, you know what? I'm a rich man already.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying.
Ready to be done. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. No, I would assume he'd want to get back into it, but at the same time, who knows? Maybe he does want to stay here. I mean, you're living in USC, you're living in Southern California, and you're getting everything you want is all around you and everything. So we'll see. But I do hope that they find a way to keep him here. If not, obviously, I think he can go be a great coach elsewhere.
Your mother Christy Kessler.
Okay.
First of all, she wished me happy. I almost said happy Thanksgiving. What month is it?
Yeah.
She wished me a Merry Christmas, which from the Kessler family. So
Great.
that involves you, I guess.
I'm part of that. Yes. So Merry Christmas.
So Merry Christmas to
From
the
us.
Kessler family. Thank you very much. She said it's actually a pretty thought-provoking question. She said, "Do you think NIL has helped or hurt college football? What's the biggest difference caused by it for recruiting top players?"
That is a good question. I don't.
Your mom opened Pandora's box here.
Yeah, this will be a long answer. I'm gonna be short and sweet because I know we'll get into this a little bit more with the transfer guys when we talk about them in later episodes. But I mean guys coming in.
Yeah.
But I think it's tough because it hurts. It's like the point you made. It hurts the
soul.
Yeah, the soul.
The vibe
of college football. The committing to a school for 4 years, the rivalries, all this stuff that you love about it, but it also helps the players, right? And I've been a player before.
Yeah.
And I've also seen players who did so much for their school and get hurt or don't make it in the NFL and see zero money from all that. So I love that part of it for the players, but I think for the overall vibe or aura of college football, if you will, I think it does hurt a little bit, especially for guys leaving and going elsewhere, and it kind of ruins the tradition and the commitment that you make to these programs. But for the players, it helps, and I've seen both sides of it, and I've been a player before, so I'm going to lean more towards the helpful side of things. But it's a tough one. There's a tons of pros and a tons of cons.
This is where I lean back on there needs to be like a commissioner type of deal, just because I feel like it's safe to say here at the Victory Podcast, we're very pro player. We're very much empower the players.
Yes,
but there needs to be some oversight or something, because at what point, do you need a cap? I feel like there's a lot of questions that haven't even maybe been asked yet, let alone researched.
They've been asked. No one's addressed them though.
Sure.
Behind closed doors.
Official capacity.
Yeah. And I went to a coaches event through my agency, Athletes First, a couple years ago. And one of the seminars that I sat through was talking about NIL and all of that. And it was kind of the idea behind it was, it's new. We're still learning. We're trying to find a way to really figure out how to approach this new era of college football. And I think that's still the thing. I know it's been out for a couple of years now, but I think they're still trying to figure out the best way to do it going forward. And it's just going to take a couple more years of learning and understanding how it works for people that are higher up. And like you said, if they're going to come up with a committee or a commissioner or make college football its own league, if you will, outside of other sports. But at the end of the day, it's still a learning curve. I have no idea what the best way to approach it is, but I'm like I said, I'm pro player, so I'm glad that players are getting paid for all the hard work and effort that they put into their schools.
It's a lot. How about that?
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's complex.
Yeah.
I think that's the word I'm looking for.
It's a huge question.
Yes, for sure. Rama said 2 questions. Do we have enough players ready for the bowl game? I know with the segment we just had.
That's like a funny, serious question.
Yeah.
How we do, but at the same time, I get why you're asking that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Riley has said it's going to be a lot of faces that maybe you haven't seen get a lot of playing time. Will be
opportunities.
That's
all I see it as.
Sure.
Opportunities. Next man up.
He also said, how excited are both of you for next season with all the new coaches and players and entering the Big Ten?
Yeah, I'm pumped. I'm not trying to look too far ahead, Rama, but it's going to be fun. You know what got me really excited?
What?
Was seeing the recruitment videos or the signee videos and having the Big Ten logo.
The patch, yeah.
The patch on the jersey. It kind of hit like that was real for a second. It's crazy because we still have another football game for this year, and I don't want to look past that, right? That's so important, especially for the first question. A lot of younger guys are getting an opportunity, so let's support our guys. I know the season didn't go as we planned, and I know the coaches and players will say that first and foremost is expectations were not met to what they wanted to do, but we still have one more chance to go play USC football this year, and there's a lot of younger guys that are getting a chance to play in front of their friends and family and go out there and perform well, so make sure you support the guys. But it's very tough right now not to look ahead to 2024. A lot of exciting things happening for USC football.
My oh my goodness, it hit me moment was when I was looking up the conference recruiting rankings earlier in the week.
Oh, and they already
clicked
had
on
us in the Big
Pac-12,
Ten?
and I was like, Washington State, Oregon. I was like, oh my gosh, it's here. We're here.
Yeah.
Because it's the 2024 class, which is Big Ten. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm looking at these names. It's crazy. Crazy times. SoCal Manny asked a question about for incoming freshmen and transfers that will have the most impact on the team. But I'm going to save that for our breakdown episode. But man, I just wanted you to know that we did see your question and register it.
Yes.
We had some Holiday Bowl questions.
Okay.
That Daddy Manny said, it's Miller time. thoughts on his first bowl start and the weapons at his disposal. And then Jorge said, you heard it here first. Miller Moss balls out at the Holiday Bowl. Hashtag in Miller we trust. Hashtag Miller time. Hashtag fight on.
Love
so
it.
some Miller
I
love.
love that it's Miller time's catching on. But to both those questions, yeah, I'm excited for Miller. I touched on it a little bit. Only thing that concerns me a little bit is who's going to be out there. But I will say the positive side of that is, yes, I know Brendan Rice, Mario Williams, all the guys that have been starting, Taj Washington aren't going to be out there. But Miller Moss has spent a lot more time with the younger guys, with some of the backups, because he's doing scout team, because he's been with the second team. So those guys that are getting opportunities are these new faces, like Lincoln Riley said. Miller's going to have more of a connection with those guys, or more of timing down with those guys than he has with some of the starters, because those are the guys that Caleb goes with, right? So I'm excited to see what he can do. Now, we'll get into that preview episode. Louisville has a very good defense, and from what I've read and seen, a lot of their guys are playing. They have an all-ACC defensive end that creates absolute havoc in the backfield. Nashon Gelati does a great job getting after the quarterback. So most important part for Miller is going to be protection up front, being on key, being ready for what the pressure is going to be, but also going out there and playing free. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Don't overthink it. Like I said, you don't have to fill Caleb Williams' shoes. You don't have to be that. Just go out there and play what we know you can and make a statement for next year. And I'm excited. I think he's going to have a great game. And if I'm a betting man, I'm putting my money on Miller. I think he's going to go out there and win this football game and go for a bunch of yards and a bunch of touchdowns.
Sean Tong said, do you think the defense can stop Louisville's offense, or will their backup running back go off for a career high?
I think they can. Louisville has a very balanced attack on the offensive side of the ball. They're right around the middle of the pack in both rushing yards per game and passing yards per game. I think 45th when it comes to passing and 52nd when it comes to rushing, right around that area. But what he means by that, their star running back, Jawar Jordan, did declare for the NFL draft, so he won't be playing in this game. But their backup, Isaac Garindo, very good player, very good number 2 running back. They had a great 1-2 punch, 109 carries and 649 yards with 8 touchdowns. Averages over 6 yards a carry. But a lot of the success that comes from the running backs in college football is because of the guys up front. So I think the biggest part for us on Wednesday is going to be how good we can do front 7-wise. I know there's going to be some new faces up there, but defensive line creating havoc in the backfield, and also our linebackers coming downhill and tackling. That's what I really want to see, is how physical we can play, right? Let's play free, play physical, play fast. Don't do a lot of thinking. If we make a mistake, fine, but just make sure you're going at 110% and hitting somebody in the mouth.
So weird. I'm gonna be so thrown off next week when we have a game on Wednesday. I'm like, what?
I keep wanting to say Saturday.
Right? Yeah. It's understandable.
Yeah.
Mark said, did Lynn have any of the new defensive coaches in his Rolodex, or were these hires sourced by Riley and Cohen? Seems like Lynn worked with what he inherited.
I don't know.
First of all,
disclaimer. We don't know.
We have no idea.
Yeah, we have no idea. That's a great question.
I would say, reading the tea leaves, no.
Yeah, I would say it's from the top. This is.
Oh, we're saying two completely different things.
Oh, you think Lynn had a say in this?
I think if he didn't, I think it was a collaborative process.
Okay, good.
I'll say that.
I'll agree with that too.
And why I say that is because it probably would have helped to have Belk in sooner, recruiting wise.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know who was on the market necessarily, recruiting wise, but you would, for the early signing period, you'd want people in as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And if this is something they had up their sleeves, why not get that going ASAP?
Instead of waiting for Lynn, or when Lynn got here, to make that kind of snowball effect.
Well, we went off of the timing. It was Lynn December 1st.
But it would be weird, I feel like, to hire assistant coaches before you hire.
No, I'm not saying you would hire them before them. I'm just saying you wouldn't wait a week
as long as
each
you did.
time.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, again, this is all speculation. That's why
this is completely tinfoil.
This is our job to talk about it. So I wish we had a better answer for you. But at the end of the day, I think Lynn obviously, and I think you said it best, it was a combination of Lynn having some input, but I think Cohen and Lincoln Riley had the final say on it, right? And they got some input on that. But I just know that I'm beyond excited that we got all three of them to come be on the defensive staff here at USC. So no matter how it happened or whose decision it was, thank you. And we got a lot of great things to look forward to for USC football.
I just think from a leadership / managerial perspective, it would be very risky to bring in your guy and then be like, this is who we're putting on your staff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. And that's why I said you said it best with the combination part.
Like,
I think
it's collaborative.
I think Lincoln, and again, speculation, I think Lincoln said, hey, these are two guys I want to go get. Jen, what do you think about this? Okay, cool. Let's bring D'Anton Lynn, hey, what do you think about this? How do you feel about these guys? How does this work for you? And then they all came up with an idea and said, hey, that sounds great to me. Went and made it happen. I think that's probably the most accurate way of how that went down. But again, we have no idea.
Yeah. Once again, speculating. We got a question from Jonathan. It's kind of looking broad, big picture. He says, what does D'Anton Lynn need to do to help the defense play at a national level?
I think first and foremost is obviously establish who he is as a coach, right? That's the most important is the players getting to know him right away. Now, it's tough to do that in a meeting because you're not coaching the guys that are here. But as soon as offseason starts, that first meeting, you come in kind of like what Sark did. Here's my philosophy. This is what I'm about. You can use a little bit of what you use at USC, but hey, this is how we're going to win games here at USC and get everybody to buy into that, right? That's how you got to do first and foremost. And then after that, like we mentioned, you've got to go get the right players. You have to make sure you have the right players on your roster to be successful in the scheme that you want to use, and you got to go out and hit that transfer portal very hard and also develop the guys that are here. Those are my two main things that I think he can do right away. Now, what that early success is going to look like, TBD, I'm not sure yet, but to have the best chance, those are the first two things he has to do.
If you want to look like on the field stuff, I think tackling, being fundamentally sound, so important.
Yeah.
And that goes back farther than the Lincoln Riley era.
Yeah.
But I also just think like an understanding of your defense is so important. Like the read and recognition in why you're here and what you're supposed to do. I feel like that was lacking at times the last couple of years. So I feel like that is super important as well. One thing I forgot to ask you too, just going on tangent now, sorry. When we previewed UCLA's defense, there were so many you were like, they do funky things. I think you said funky like 4 times.
Yeah.
How does that translate?
The first thing I think of is their defensive line. They would stand up interior. There were times they'd stand up all 4 of them, right? They would stand up interior guys on the outside. Did a great job of putting Latu in great situations to have one-on-one pass rush, right? Where you bring 4 or 5 to another side and leave him one-on-one backside with the left tackle or right tackle. He's so good when it came to scheme and creating one-on-one matchups in their pass rush. That's why they were top 6 in the entire country in sacks, because he put guys in great positions to be successful. Also in the run game, guys were so smart when it came to gap integrity. It was so difficult for a center and a quarterback to understand what pressure was coming because of the different fronts and different things that they would use, but it also didn't slow them down. To your point, we weren't doing too many things where we were confused and playing slow. We knew who we were. We knew what our MO was. We knew the different looks we were going to use in the game, and we're going to play fast, and we're going to be fundamentally sound, and we're going to tackle. And they did a great job of that. And the biggest part of that, too, like you said, of tackling, you've got to get guys that can tackle. You've got to go find guys that don't miss tackles, that are tackling machines, that get after the quarterback, and that can stop the run.
I love that. You went just so passionate right there.
Yeah. I have to look back at my notes, which I guess I could right now, but that was the first thing I remember is how funky they were up front with their different looks, standing guys up, rotating guys around, walking linebackers up to this side, and then bringing opposite pressure. Just so much fun to watch, and it's a nightmare defense to go against as a quarterback because you're not just thinking about the play. You have to – it's like chess. You've got to figure out what they're doing pre-snap, and now the play clock's running down. I got to go, and now before it's too late and you're getting hit in the back. I
don't know how I forgot how many times you mentioned funky in that episode, but it just came back to me. It was
you said it, and it just kind of triggered me.
Yes.
Either way, I'm excited to see what Coach Lynn does, but not unfortunately, we got one more game I'm excited about. We're gonna have to wait a little bit to see what that's gonna look like.
Yes, very true. We got a question from Steve now. Just kind of summarizing everything the last couple of weeks. He said, given all the changes in the program, it's the question we all want to know: what's your favorite Christmas movie?
My favorite Christmas movie, Elf. I gotta go Elf.
Mine too.
Elf. I'm a huge Will Ferrell fan. Obviously,
that's a good point. Yeah.
USC, but he's probably one of my all-time favorite comedian actors. So I grew up watching his movies all the time. So I'm going Elf.
That's a class. I feel like that's the classic of our generation.
Yeah.
Elf, always a good one.
Yeah.
We got painful questions for me specifically. First one is from Timpson Cameron, who said, is Keely doing okay without Shohei Ohtani as an Angel? And Alan said, will Keely be ordering a Dodgers Ohtani jersey?
I love it.
Honestly, that's actually why we were gone so long. I was in a mourning process.
Yeah, that's what there it is. The truth comes out, people.
This is really why we were gone.
By the way, though, outside of whatever fan you are, that contract is insane. Okay. I don't know how they got around that or how that works.
Well, first of all, did you see who they signed last night?
No.
It was a $325 million contract.
Who?
To another pitcher, the Dodgers.
Oh, really?
They spent $1 billion in contracts this
But you
offseason.
saw how Ohtani's is set up, right?
Yeah, that's also.
Is that true or is that people?
Let me
Speculation.
call Otani.
Yeah. Call him real quick and ask him.
Yeah, okay.
But it was like $2 million, $2 million, $2 million for like the next 8 years.
Because he's a smart player.
And then yeah.
I'm so sad.
So that he can get better players around him.
Look, the main bullet point is that clearly the Dodgers have money to throw around.
Yeah.
Victory Podcast, driven by Audi and supported by the Dodgers, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, no kidding.
We will take some funding is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no kidding. Sign us.
Yes. Alan, I will not be buying a Dodgers Otani jersey. I have an Angels Otani jersey, and I'm sticking with it.
Are you going to do one of the TikToks or the videos where you got to burn it, like they did LeBron?
I've never
I'm just
understood
kidding.
Burning jerseys.
The funniest one to me,
they're
though.
very expensive.
Yeah, they are. The funniest one to me, though, is when people would do like, they'd get the fire out and they'd act like they're going to burn it. And then they set it down and put a thank you note, like, thank you. I'm like, how cheesy can we?
I've never seen that.
You never seen that?
No.
They did it to like LeBron when he left Cleveland the second time after he won a championship for them. Go watch them. They're
I've
pretty
never
bad.
understood burning something that you bought with your own money to spite someone.
And the player gets the money. They get a share of the jersey
I already
sale.
cashed in on that.
Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. G said, how are you two spending the holiday? Any fun traditions you do around this time of year? Resolutions for 2024? Very insightful question.
We're doing Christmas here. It'll be our first Christmas with my wife, Paige. Our first Christmas as a married couple, husband and wife.
Yes.
However you say that. Yeah, husband and wife.
You are a married couple, yes.
So it'll be myself, Paige, and our dog, Coda. We're going to have a nice little Christmas up in Irvine with us three.
How fun.
I was going to go home. We were going to try to go home and see everybody, but now I got an opportunity. I get to go to the Holiday Bowl.
Right.
For the game, so that'll be a lot of fun. I'm doing a little influencer media
Cody
thing.
people.
Yeah, me and Matt Leinart will be doing some stuff there at the game for DirecTV. So it'll be a lot of fun if you guys want to check out their socials. But yeah, we'll be at the game. I know you'll be at the game as well. So
yeah.
I'm
just
excited.
don't ask you to do a TikTok, Mr. Influencer.
I don't know what we're doing. All I know is it's a couple posts and then there's some video content creation. But I get to do it with Matt Leinart, so we'll be at the game. If you're at the game too and you listen to the podcast, make sure you come say hi to me and Matt as well. And Keely will be there too. So come say hi. But I'm excited. Yeah, we get to go watch some football a couple days after Christmas.
Do you have resolutions for 2024?
No, I do not right now. I'll come up with some.
Okay. We can always circle back.
Yeah. Be a better podcast host. There we go.
Aw.
That's my first one.
There's no improvement.
Yeah.
No, I'll be like Lincoln Riley. Caleb can always improve. You can always improve.
You always can. You always can be better. But no,
True.
I don't know. I'll come up with those and I'll let you know next time.
Okay, cool.
What about you? You got any? What do you do for Christmas?
I'm gonna see my family.
There you go.
And then San Diego, and then the work doesn't stop. And then I'm gonna cover women's basketball. Yeah. So there's a lot happening.
And we still got the podcast.
It's still podcasting rolling.
Holidays are just a quick little break for us, but then it's right back to
I know. I actually haven't had a break yet, so I'm trying to figure out when to place that.
Yeah.
TBD. So if we don't come back for a week at some point in January, it is my fault.
Okay.
I apologize.
Yeah. Disclaimer. Put that one out there now.
Yes. And I don't have a resolution for 2024 yet.
Yeah.
I guess I should. More consistent podcast.
There you go.
How about that? Final one is from Alyssa Bubbles. She said, I'm back with a lot of Ks. Sorry, school killed me. So understandable.
We've all been there.
We've all been there for sure. But that wraps it up for my question portion. You did not put one out.
I did not do an Instagram question box this week because I thought, we did get a lot on there, but I also didn't know how long this was going to take to cover all of these things.
We had a lot of topics.
We did have a lot of topics, and we got to, and I was more so like, okay, we're going to talk about the coaches, and I didn't know what direction to go with it. Like, hey, ask anything you want, or we're going to talk, like, we didn't know what topics we were going to fully cover as well. We're kind of split all these up so we can get through everything without having a 7-hour episode.
Yes.
Yes, the Instagram questions will come back in the next couple episodes. It won't be for the preview episode, though, unfortunately. I don't think we're doing any questions for the preview.
We kind of are just steamrolling through this.
Yeah, we're rolling through this. We're getting back to back. We're going to record back to back, get these out for you guys, and then we will get back to more questions and more of your regular scheduled program, I guess, if you will.
Speaking of what I'm doing for the holidays, it's editing podcasts.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you got a lot. You got a lot to do.
Yes.
We've been recording for a while now. But with that being said, it's good to be back. We missed everybody.
We did.
We're sorry that we were gone for a month. D'Anton, I can't wait to hear from D'Anton and you guys after the Holiday Bowl as well. And again, if you're going to San Diego to watch the game, come say what's up. Yeah, come say hi. And if you're watching from home, make sure you support these guys. They got one last game for 2023. With that being said, Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, everybody. Happy New Year. Love you all. Fight on.
Alrighty, that's going to wrap it up. Like we said, we have a Holiday Bowl preview episode coming out, so look out for that. Happy holidays, everybody. Hope you're getting some rest and relaxation and spending it with people that you love.
There you go.
That's my
motivation. There we go.
I don't know.
I love it. We're tired. It's
late.
7:30.
Yes.
You've been here all day.
That's going to wrap it up. That's Cody. I'm Keely. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.